Has anyone heard of the Indie Feed Performance Poetry Podcast here? Alright, well basically it's a podcast online that features, they don't have it just for poetry, they have it for every genre of music or any type of performance art, but it's basically a podcast that features some of the top spoken word artists in the world, and about maybe 3 or 4 months ago this next poem was featured on it, which I believe made me the second youngest person to be featured on it. And the next 2 poems I'm going to read are pretty much the sad lost love portion of this set. This first one is basically self-explanatory. It's about the girl that got away and moved out west and left me with more questions than answers. And for the first time ever, during the middle of this, I'm going to have my friend Zach come up and read one of his poems during the middle of it too, to give it sort of a different feel. It's called California Clone.
Alright, that was the best poem I've ever written.
Yeah?
The one you just read.
Yeah.
I never heard it before.
No? That was good. Is it in his book? It's in the first book?
We both smell of sex even though we slept on separate sheets for several dozen sunsets. We both watched the wicked waves wash our wishes away, just off the coast of different oceans. We both run in frantic figure eights, flopping like fish out of water, gasping for our last breaths, just to come full circle, with only silent shadows by our unstable sides. We both taste the truth tiptoeing off the tips of our tongues, yet it seems as if only lies are able to somehow spill out. We both hear the lone wolf's contagious cry in the distance off the periphery of a peak. I just can't tell if it's from the Rocky or Appalachian Mountains. We both touch the train tracks that separate our souls as we walk on this tragic tightrope. But I know she'll never meet me halfway. She poses for the camera and feigns a subtle smile while assembling how to suitably showcase pseudo sentiments and sensations. She walks the red carpet like a robot, except there are no wires. She still shows some slight unsuspicious signs that she was once a human being. Like that tear that fell from her eye that frigid night in mid-December when she boarded that train to the Pacific and told me, Donnie, my darling, I don't think I'm ever going to see the Atlantic Ocean again. All the agents and assholes out west have now transformed and molded her into what she promised she would never become. A contaminated, comatose clone continuously crashing cars in her cranium. She even dyed her hair platinum blonde. And dyed a little inside, too. Hollywood has taken her hostage and made her a premature prisoner of her own prima donna perfection. But what she does not know is that for her, there is a feasible way out. It's called Arizona. It's called Nevada. It's called Oregon. Hell, it's even called Mexico. But her heart hibernates in Hollywood now, and the spotlight always shines on her. And the spectacular stage is now her claustrophobic cage. And all the hormone-happy teenage drama queens mold themselves into an identical copy of her figure and form. And all the world is a theater, and all its citizens merely help act out this traumatic treachery. Someone once told me that it never snows in Saskatchewan, and it's never hot in Hawaii, and it never rains in Washington, but I can see the storm clouds suffocating Seattle even from the Atlantic Ocean. I can smell the sex on her mattress from 17 states away. I can taste the truth on the tip of her tongue as she sucks the celebrity status out of her director's $1 million dick. I can hear the locals cry high in the Rocky Mountains. I can touch the train tracks while the light at the end of my tunnel inches closer and closer. I see her on the screen and scream. I see her holding hands with Harrison Ford while her other hand holds an Oscar. I decided this needs to come to an end, and she needs to open up her eyes and realize what the Golden State has done to her. I need to save her from herself. I start to pack my bags with nothing but Band-Aids and second chances, but in 4 minutes and 47 seconds, I will march out of my one-room apartment, and I'll pray to all 2,883 miles from Cincinnati, Ohio, to the City of Angels, without hitchhiking, without stopping to take a shit, hell, without even blinking or breathing. Satan's extravagant city will soon be in my sight, but before I could even cross the invisible line, she's right there waving and greeting this West Coast wasteland like she's the fucking queen bee of this horrible hive. I pull her off of her plastic pedestal and plead for her to please come home. But she pleads with the police to please take me away. I came all the way here with a purpose, but that purpose seems to have slipped my mind. Perhaps I become a California clone too myself. Perhaps it wasn't her fault after all. Perhaps it was the Pacific. I grab her by the hand, I hold and kiss her in a way even Ron Jeremy would have applauded and approved of. But I don't have the heart to look her in the eye and tell her that she's the worst thing to happen to the world since the invention of the word love. That she's become more dirty and disgusting than downtown Detroit. That our relationship is a bigger mistake than America's invasion of Iraq. That the chances of me and her overcoming the obstacles are less likely, sorry about this, than the Cincinnati Reds winning the World Series. She was more overrated and glorified than God. I finally lift my head and stare at the stranger, at this tasteful counterfeit version of my former soulmate. I almost vomit over the side of her fake tan and acrylic nails and hooker heels and 10 tons of makeup. And I breathe again for the first time since Bridgeport, and blink again for the first time since Brooklyn, and speak again for the first time since Santa Fe. And as an ounce of oil drips from her eye, I ask,
let the horse sleep and wake the virgin. I long for self-admiration and love and everything I did before shamelessly. I quietly withdrew from the world around me and dove inward to a prettier portrait of oneself through her eyes. I hope for togetherness and nothing else. I hope for purity once again. I hope for her arms warming me, holding me closely. She came hard, tearing skin from my leg as she convulsed in sickening pleasure. It hurt and I gasped under my breath, a most sorrowful sound. She disengaged and turned the other way, falling to a slumber-like state, though still next to me. The room smelled of stale sex as I huddled closely against the wall. The air was placid as I lay beside her. I prayed to Mary, a mother of God, to put the whore to sleep and wake the virgin.
Her tears turned to ice. Her heart turned to stone. Her diamond ring turned to coal. My blood bled black gold. I cannot continue this sadistic charade for even another second, so I wave farewell to forever and say goodbye to the goddess of the Golden Globes, because this is not where I belong. This is not where people belong. This is a whole different world here. The air tastes different, the people act different, the rules are different. And I must escape before I get sucked into the Beverly Hills black hole, before the red carpet turns into a tongue and swallows me whole, before Hollywood has a hurricane and the only remaining letters on the huge sign are H-O-L-Y, before California separates from the rest of America just like the scientists said it would, before the mannequins start to move, before the clones start to cry. I step on her star on the Walk of Fame, and I sprint towards salvation at the state line, and when I get there, I don't even look back. And I hope she doesn't assume I'm ever going to come back, because the only time I will ever see California again is an enormous silver screen late at night. Maybe she'll make a cameo appearance in one of my dreams, but the only thing I have left to say to the Wicked Witch of the West is, hope that the Hollywood sign doesn't fall from its mountain and crush your corpse, while you're crushing another actor's heart. So I hang my head low and stare at the train tracks as I walk back to Atlantic alone, forcing myself to accept the fact that my former ally is now merely another Beverly Hills Barbie doll, another Malibu mannequin, a corrupted California clone. Thank you.